Welcome to Happy Hour Conversations with Tamekia. Be sure to follow us on IG, Facebook, Pinterest, and YouTube at Happy Hour Conversations with Tamekia, where I bring voices, stories, and laughter to the mic to simply help normalize hard conversations with love, cheer you on as you give yourself permission to live and redefine self as you join and engage in our sister-friend tribe. We encourage our community to focus on areas of growth, becoming better versions of self each day, and exercising in faith over fear. Come on and join our sister-friend tribe where we just have a good old time and laugh and share our authentic stories and have good conversation. Go ahead and grab your favorite drink and chime in. Today, we are talking about normalizing grief and learning that grief is a part of us. I'm going to share ideas that I've done to help celebrate and honor my mom, specifically on her birthday, but I'm also working on other projects to help carry out her legacy. I'm hoping that my ideas will give you ideas to continue your loved one's legacy as you continue to deal with grief. But before we jump into the episode, let me give you this week's affirmation. Ladies, life is probably the best roller coaster. The highs, the lows, the twists, the dips, the turns, the curves, the swirls that you will ever ride for free. It is uniquely your ride. I'm just here to tell you to embrace your roller coaster ride. Let's jump into today's episode. Talking and problem solving has always been my gifts since I can remember. But the journey to podcasting, honestly, it fell in my lap. I was not the person that was striving to podcast and be a podcaster. The foundation of Happy Hour Conversation was founded on, honestly, me at the time dealing with, I was grieving the loss of my mom, I was depressed, and overall, I was suffering physically and mentally. Yet I was still showing up in spaces, giving pieces of myself that were fragile, bent, and broken, but still trying to figure out how to live life and deal with my grieving process, because grief isn't something that we talk about. And it wasn't something that I understood. And it was my very first time dealing with this level of grief and losing my mom. One day I stood in front of the mirror and said, Almighty, when I get through this and on the other side, I'll say yes to purpose. Now I was in the mirror looking and talking and saying, I will say yes to purpose. I didn't really know what purpose was at the time, but I've always known I've had a calling on my life. At the time, I didn't know there's no other side to grief. Listen carefully. There is no N-O other side to grief. Now that's my opinion and my experience. Grief itself becomes part of you. So I have embraced that grief has become part of me, right? Grief becomes part of you, and many of us cannot navigate because we try to jump back into our norms without processing, talking, and normalizing our feelings. The foundation of Happy Hour Conversation started all because I wanted to normalize. I wanted people to know that it's all right to talk about your feelings, your experiences, your highs, your lows, and the different stages that you go through when dealing with grief. We need to normalize grief in a healthy manner and let people know that it is okay. Because what ends up happening when we don't normalize it in a healthy manner, we spiral down into this dark hole, this dark, deep hole, and it makes it even harder to get out and deal with. And then we have other things that end up happening. Illnesses, we get sick. And we're just existing and not living. So I wanted to give some background as to how Happy Hour Conversation with Tamekia started, because when I say it just fell in my lap, it did fall in my lap. And moving in purpose and normalizing grief is a movement that I am pressing through to assure that individuals that are dealing with grief, that they know that it's okay to talk about their feelings. It's okay to seek therapy. It's okay to talk about what stages that they're going through. But all in all, I want to normalize and for people to understand that grief doesn't go anywhere. There is no other side. Grief becomes part of your life. And so what happens, like anything else that becomes part of your life, you have to learn how to manage, navigate, and live with it, right? We shouldn't have to suffer in silence. Although grief hurts, it is part of a beautiful masterpiece. Because guess what? It's your masterpiece. And you are beautiful and it's part of you. The experience of loss and grief brings many first times without the person you love. The world is different and the first hits different, right? The first holidays without your loved one, the first birthdays, celebrations, family traditions, vacations, realizing you will not get those phone calls anymore, text messages. I mean, the list goes on, right? The first time that you experience your very first, it hits very differently than the second and the third. And not that each time you won't experience something, it would just be different. And sometimes the emotions, they just come and they're just there. It's not anything you can control. So I'm just here to tell you to just embrace. It's all right. It is all right to navigate your feelings and figure out if you like to keep traditions that you and your loved ones did, or if you want to do something different. If you want to do something different, that's perfectly okay. And sometimes even navigating that family setting, because some families, they want to keep, the same traditions. But as an individual, you have to figure out what works best for you. Do you want to keep traditions? Do you want to do something different? Or do you just want to, test things out to figure out how do you navigate a space without your loved one anymore? And it's okay to talk it out with your family, talk it out with by yourself, and just figure things out along the way. There shouldn't be any pressure. But I will tell you this, trying to jump back into what was normal without without your loved person is that is difficult. And so I would say be open to trying something different, something that you absolutely love. I am here to help normalize grief in the best possible way that I can. And so I'm going to share ideas that I've done throughout the years since my mom's transition. And there are some previous episodes where I share the entire story of what happened. So if you want to check out the story, please visit the first few episodes of Happy Hour Conversations with Tamekia, where I dive deep into how my mom transitioned. Since then, that happened in 2019, and I experienced a spiral effect, right? Meaning I didn't know how to live life. I didn't know how to move forward. And to be quite honest with you, I didn't know anybody that was really talking about grief. I was expected to really jump back in to my everyday life. And to be honest with you, let's be clear, I already had some other personal things just kind of going on with Tamekia, trying to manage Tameka's life, figuring out Tameka's happy place, figuring out, just life in general. And then boom, this happened. So as I have been able to manage and navigate this experience, one of the things that I'm committed to is because you have to figure out what is it that you used to do, right? And so one of the things that's really big for my family, we celebrate birthdays. Well, I'll say what's big for me. Birthdays are really big for me. And so I had never missed a birthday and always celebrated my mom for her birthday. So that was really big for me. And so in normalizing grief and figuring out what tradition I wanted to continue, I continued that tradition, but in my own way with my own twist. And so my very first time figuring out what I wanted to do was April of 2020, right? Y'all know that was the height of COVID. COVID had just started, and I was sitting and just numbed to the space of it is my mom's birthday and my mom is physically not here. What am I going to do? And there was a time where it was just so overwhelming that I felt numbed. And so I told myself, I am going to continue to celebrate. And I came up with an idea. So here are the few ideas I've done since 2020 to celebrate my mom's birthday. So I'm going to give you all each year of what I've done. So in 2020, my mom would have been 65. So for her 65th birthday, I had picked up a little journal. It was a little black journal. And this, what's funny is that journal actually had 64 pages. My mom transitioned at the age of 64. And I had to write on the back side of one of the pages to get the 65th journal out. But let me share what I did. So I took this journal and I wrote for 65 days of why I was grateful for my mom. So I came up with different ideas of being grateful towards my mother. This was a really fun activity for me. It helped me celebrate my mom, but it also made me realize just how grateful I was to have such an amazing mom. And to sit back and just look at it and open it up, it's like, wow, I wrote 65 things down that I can look back at to help celebrate my mom. Fast forward 2021 for her 66th birthday. My sister and I, we went to Brassica for lunch. We stopped past a plant shop for her to shop for plants. So the plant shop, I believe, was out north. I live on the east side of Columbus. And so the plant shop was out north. And here's the cool part. The person that was helping us, her name was Linda, which is my mom's name. She had the sweetest spirit. And so, depending on how you believe, I took that as a moment of my mom showing up. And we finished the day watching the sunset at the Scioto River. So that was really fun. It was cool. It was calming. And it was just a moment that my sister and I shared to continue to celebrate my mom. 2022 for her 67th birthday. Now I'm going to give you all each year because each year it was something different. And you all can maybe get something from this or, come up with your own idea. But for my mom's 67th birthday, I've made this cool t-shirt of some of my favorite pictures. It was about 3 or 4 pictures. Some of my favorite pictures are on the shirt. And y'all, I went live. I hesitated, but I went live on social media, both, I believe it was Facebook and IG. And I did a toast. And I also talked about the journey of grief, and I gave tips on how to manage grief. So that was really cool. It was scary because it was live, but it was cool. 2023 was my mom's 68th birthday. So I gathered family up, we celebrated, we did healthy power bowls. It was what do you call them? We did the Mediterranean power bowls. Sorry. We did the Mediterranean power bowls. We had cake. We had a memory lane pick. And we topped it off with each individual sharing a favorite memory of my mom. So that was really cool. Now, for her 69th birthday, which was just a couple weeks ago, which 2024, a couple weeks ago, I kicked it off with releasing an episode of my podcast, and it was really paying homage. As I stated early on, Happy Hour Conversations, the foundation of it started because I wanted to normalize grief. I gathered 2 other friends and I said, I want to talk about this thing that we are going through, being grown women and feeling like, orphans not having our parents. So they said yes, and then the podcast just took off. And so because of the start of Happy Hour Conversations podcast, I took the liberty to pay homage to my mom and kicked off an episode for her birthday, April 5th. Now, why I say I took advantage of the opportunity was because episodes typically drop on Wednesday. My mom's birthday was a Friday. So I pushed the episode and held it from Wednesday and released it on my mom's birthday. From there, I scheduled a massage, which was a self-care day, and topped it off with meeting my sister for dinner. We also extended my mom's birthday to the following week, and we traveled and we hung out at the beach, which was really cool, relaxing and fun. So birthdays were a really big deal for me. And so it's one of the things that I do to help continue to celebrate my mom's birthday. And as I'm learning to navigate this entire journey, I think what I'm also going to do is, starting this year, I'm going to start learning how to also celebrate her death date as well, right? Because when we physically leave this physical earth, it's supposed to be a celebration. As hard as it is, as sad as it is, and as an emotional roller coaster, it is truly supposed to be a celebration. So I am going to take the opportunity to this year also figure out what I want to do to celebrate my mom's May 17th, which was the date that she physically transitioned from this world. I have some other projects brewing in the pot that will also be dedicated to my mom to help continue her legacy. All in all, people leave legacies, footprints, and as we normalize grief, is really keeping your loved one's name alive, right? Keeping their legacy alive. So I want people to help join me in keeping and normalizing grief by keeping your loved one's name alive, their legacy alive, and figure out what ideas and projects can you do to help carry out their name and continue to celebrate them and who they were while they were physically here. Living with grief is what make it makes you realize that it is emotionally hard, but it becomes part of you. You have to learn how to live with it. I'm just here to tell you to continue your loved one's name, their legacy, and help me as I make this movement in normalizing grief. I am your girl, Tamekia, here at Happy Hour Conversations. I want you to grow like weeds, remember to be your best self, and above all, put one foot in front of the other and move through fear. I am your girl, Tamekia, creating space for sister friends and sister friend tribes to just be. Thank you for tapping in to Happy Hour Conversations with Tamekia and engaging with our sister friend tribe, where voice matters, laughing is medicine, and redefining her identity is essential. Be sure to follow us on IG at Happy Hour Conversations with Tamekia, and be sure to subscribe to our podcast. I am your girl, Tamekia, and I'll see you next week.